Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to Real Talk Bougie. Guys, I have a sad update for you guys, and I'm sure if you've been following the disappearance of London Thomas, you already know. But if you don't know, this young lady, her name is London Thomas, and she was reported missing on April 5th, 2025. By her family. She had gone to go visit her boyfriend and did not come back home. So April 5th, she was dropped off by, I believe, her older sister to go visit a young man, her boyfriend, um, and was reported missing soon after on the 5th when she did not return home as expected. Um, Fast forward 3 weeks, London's remains were found in an SUV. It appeared to be an abandoned SUV parked at a home in Southfield, Michigan. Anyway, there are two people of interest who are being questioned and investigated by the State Police of Michigan. One of which is her boyfriend's mother. Okay, her name is Charla Pendergrass, okay? Um, they had an arraignment for her on the charges of lying to police officers. So, just to fill in the blanks a little bit more. So, London's boyfriend and mother, well, they didn't it we believe it's the boyfriend, right? Were detained by the police. The mother has been charged with lying to police, and the boyfriend was let go. The investigation is ongoing and continuing. You know, it's really sad because this was just a very young lady getting ready to graduate from high school and do a lot of things, as you can see by her smile. She looked to be a very happy girl, living her life, enjoying life, having fun, have a boyfriend. They said she did hair, just enjoying her life, 17, and found after 3 weeks in an SUV abandoned at I wouldn't say it was an abandoned property, but it's a property. I don't think anyone was actively living there. So if you've been watching the coverage, you've seen they had a candlelight vigil with her grandmother and some family members. The parents are distraught. Um, the grandmother is distraught too, but she's been vocal with the media. But let's get into this arraignment, and we'll continue to do some more follow up on this really horrible set of circumstances. Um, it seems as though the police are actively pursuing who they think they need to, right? But let's hear the arraignment because there's important details in here, and we'll talk about it on the other end. So this person who is coming into the courtroom at this moment is Charla Pendergrass, and she's getting ready to be arraigned on just probably the start of some charges. I think they say that there is video evidence that she lied to police. So who would lie to police in an investigation for a 17-year-old? Well, they're accusing Charla Pendergrass. So let's get into it. Please be seated. Okay, thanks.
Afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, sir. We need a minute, or are we ready to go?
I think we're ready.
All right, let's do it.
Do we have a prosecutor or no?
We do.
Okay.
We do. Okay, just want to make sure everybody can hear everybody. We're on the record in case number 25-1068 FY People versus Charla Pendergrass.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. I'm 75788 on prosecution.
And good afternoon, Your Honor. For the record, Terry Johnson, P70773, on behalf of Ms. Charla Pendergrass, who is present and seated in the jury box.
All right. With regard to the charges, counsel, do you wish the court to read on the record what the charges are?
I have not seen them, Your Honor, and if the court would like, I can approach and glance at them, or whatever the court's pleasure is.
I'll read.
Thank you, Your Honor.
It's alleged between the dates of April 5th, 2025 and April 24th, 2025 in the city of Inkster in count one, that the defendant is being charged with one count of lying to a police officer in a violent crime investigation. It's alleged that after being informed by Agent Christopher Steigel, Federal Bureau of Investigation, that the officer was conducting a criminal investigation, that the defendant did knowingly and willfully make a statement or statements to the office that she knew were false or misleading regarding the following material fact or facts relating to the investigation that London Thomas left 27262 Carlisle, Inkster, Michigan at 7 a.m. on April 5th, 2025 on foot through the front door, alive and well. And the officer was conducting a criminal investigation for kidnapping/homicide. That's a felony punishable by up to 4 years in prison and or a $5,000 fine. That concludes the reading of the charges.
Thank you, Your Honor. With that being said, we will enter a plea of not guilty before this honorable court.
All right, the court will enter a plea of not guilty on behalf of the defendant as to bond.
Your Honor, my client is a lifelong resident, actually, of Wayne County, born and raised here in the city of Inkster. She is not a flight risk. Her family still lives here. Her grandmother and grandfather, who are residents of the city of Inkster, would be asking for some type of personal bond in this matter, Your Honor, with the standard conditions.
All right, on behalf of the people.
On behalf of the people, Your Honor, the people would be seeking a high cash bond with a GPS header. We would be requesting no contact with the London Thomas's family nor any other witnesses in the kidnapping and or homicide investigation into the death of London Thomas. We would also be asking if the defendant has a passport, we surrender that passport to the investigating authorities. Your Honor, with regard to the residency as outlined by defense counsel, Ms. Pendergrass has had an address outside of Wayne County in the city of Clawson since 2001. Regarding her being a flight risk, if people are concerned about flight, which is why we're asking for a tether, Ms. Pendergrass was set to turn herself into authorities late last week. Instead of going to the police station, she stopped the car that she was in, got out, and attempted to flee the area on foot. She was then later apprehended by police. Earlier today, we were in front of Judge Knapp with regard to a motion that Mr. Johnson had filed. Mr. Johnson indicated to the court that Ms. Pendergrass would not return to Carlisle address in the city of Inkster, that she would be going to a different address in a different city. Specifically, she would not return to that Carlisle address because of some concerns with regard to the health and safety of her father. She was in fact apprehended at that house she said she would not be at, where she went directly from where she was released earlier today. People have a concern for flight, and with regard to the high cash bond, people are asking for a high cash bond. Ms. Pendergrass has access to multiple properties, multiple vehicles. She also is, to my understanding, has access to a large family trust. So people are concerned, again, with flight with regard to her financial situation. And then also with regard to the high cash bond, we're asking for that due to likelihood of conviction being quite high. Ms. Pendergrass was interviewed, Mirandized, said what she said, and the people have very strong evidence from phone records, video, that Ms. Pendergrass did in fact lie with police during this investigation.
All right.
Your Honor, just to clear one thing up, some of this is very insincere in terms of the fact of, yes, I did make a statement to the court earlier today that Judge Knapp, that Ms. Pendergrass would not return to the address on Carlisle. However, I was unaware at the time that Ms. Pendergrass had already been released from custody here in the city of Inkster. I had no communication with her. When I finally had communication with her, I said, you need to go to this address. So to say that she knew not to go there at that point, she was just released, she walked, and that's where she walked to at that point. So that's very insincere.
Is she working? Does she have a job that she?
Yes, I'm the caretaker for my, I'm sorry, Your Honor. I'm the caretaker for my grandparents. They need 24-hour care. Jalen and I are helping them along with a few different caregivers.
Okay. So that's your primary employment?
Yes.
And again, Your Honor,
My grandfather can't walk, and my grandmother, is very sick, so.
All right.
and Your Honor, this is a 4-year felony, and if they have, other charges or other things that they're worried about, again, as the court is aware, I did file a writ because of the people's actions of detaining my client all this time, and they still haven't come up with anything but this one charge. And if they have something, they're free to come back and charge, but just to hold her on a possibility, there may be something else that I don't think that's fair to my client, especially after being in custody for in excess of 120-something hours.
All right. And Ms. Merrigan, this is an ongoing investigation?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, the court does take note of her lifelong contact with both the city and the county. I do have concerns with regard to her being a flight risk, as well as the strength of the case. The court did swear out the warrant and heard additional facts, and so the court has those concerns. And for those reasons, the court will set a bond of $50,000 cash, surety, GPS tether, if released. No contact of any kind with any witnesses. She's to surrender a passport if she has one. She may not leave the state of Michigan without permission of this court. She may not be in possession of any weapons or ammunition. And she's going to be living in another city if she's released?
Yes, Your Honor, and that I have provided that address to the people as well as the detective from Michigan State Police.
All right.
I can provide it to the court if the court would like off the record.
No, as long as the parties that need it have it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Anything else for the record?
Your Honor, PCC?
We're gonna do that. I guess I was asking Ms. Merrigan, did I impose the conditions that you requested?
Yes.
Okay, because you mentioned there was some concern about contact with witnesses?
Yes,
Okay,
and the court did order no contact with anyone.
because I didn't name a party, so I'm going to just leave it at witnesses. So, counsel, are you available to return for probable cause conference next Wednesday?
One moment, Your Honor. That be in the morning, Your Honor?
Yes, sir. 9 a.m.
Yes, ma'am. Wednesday, Wednesday, May 7th.
May 7th, we'll see all parties back 9 a.m.
Thank you, Your
That
Honor.
concludes this matter. Thank you all.
You and your staff have a great day, Your
You
Honor.
too. I'm sorry, Mr. Johnson, I was incorrect. My clerk says we do need an address where we can mail notices to her.
Yes, I will provide
And
that
you can
to
provide it
you.
to my clerk.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right, that concludes this matter.
So, okay. All right, let me just set this back just a little bit. Okay. So we see right here, her name is Charla Pendergrass. She is the mother of, I believe, Jalen, as she mentioned, Jalen Pendergrass. Jalen is the boyfriend of the young lady, London Thomas. And I mean, look, I'm not gonna lie, she's giving herself very much of like a innocent type of deer in the headlights look. But ma'am, it's quite possible ma'am is helping her son cover up for something far more sinister and elaborate. And they are saying that she lied to the police, and police say they have video evidence to support this charge. And even though lying to police doesn't seem like a very serious offense, it's the beginnings of what could be a pile-on of charges if and when they are able to collect and gather enough evidence against her son, Jalen, and maybe even her. This would not be the first time that a family member has helped cover up a sinister act. And if she helped her son with any part of the murder of London Thomas, whether, if he had actually had something to do with it, which it has been alleged that he is a person of interest. He's not charged. So, this is the time period where they have to be very careful, with pointing fingers and things like that. But I think it's been made quite obvious that the Michigan State Police, they had the FBI out here, that they were hot on these people's trail, and that they believed that they had something to do with it. And now his mother, Mr. Jalen Pendergrass' mother, is sitting in the 22nd district waiting on a $50,000 cash bond. They said that there is some access to money. She says she also is a full-time caregiver for her grandparents, which I guess they should have thought about that before they decided to, allegedly mess with other people's children, right? To the point where it's got you arrested and sitting and talking to a judge. So it appears that there's going to be a probable cause hearing on the 7th. So let's stay tuned for that, as we will hear more information. Obviously, probable cause, they're going to bring what they have so far to support the charges. They may not have the mother load of information because she hasn't been charged with anything but lying. However, if the information to support the lying to police is substantial enough and there's video evidence, we might be getting some clues as to what potentially happened to London between her getting dropped off at her boyfriend's house and her being found in a SUV in a decomposing state. Unfortunately, they had to only use dental records to be able to identify her because it had been 3 weeks in that SUV for her to be found. So just sad news all the way around. Let me know, have you been following this case? Very, very sad. London had a $1 million smile, very pretty, and just joyful looking young lady. And it's very, very sad that her family is having to deal with such a nightmare when they should be preparing for her graduation, and she was preparing for her prom and all different kinds of things. And just awful, absolutely awful. Anyway, guys, make sure, if you want to be kept up to date on this story along with many others, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Make sure your notifications are set so that when I go live, post a video, post an update, any of the things, you will be notified immediately. Have a good day, guys, and I will see you next time.